how does the fourth, we believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From Radio Beacon to Radio Beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
The question now is on Article 1 of the resolution, impeaching President Donald J. Trump for abusing his powers. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Nadler?
Aye.
Mr. Nadler votes aye. Ms. Lofgren?
Aye.
Ms. Lofgren votes aye. Ms. Jackson-Lee?
Aye.
No.
Mr. Collins votes no. Mr. Sensenbrenner?
No.
Mr. Sensenbrenner votes no. Mr. Shabbat?
No.
Mr. Shabbat votes no. Mr. Gomert?
My vote is no.
Mr. Gomert votes no.
The clerk will report.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The article is agreed to. The question now is on Article 2 of the resolution, impeaching President Donald J. Trump for obstructing Congress. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Neguse votes aye. Ms. McBath?
Aye.
Ms. McBath votes aye. Mr. Stanton?
Aye.
Mr. Stanton votes aye. Mr. Jordan? No. Mr. Jordan votes no. Mr. Buck? Mr. Buck votes no. Mr. Radcliffe? No. Mr. Radcliffe votes no. Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The article is agreed to. The resolution is amended as ordered, reported favorably to the House.
Woohoo! Did you notice all those white guys that voted no? Did you notice that? Did you? Yeah. I mean, they tried to turn this thing into a circus, and quite frankly, that's because they're all clowns on that side. It is amazing. I mean, they should give out medals for enduring hearings, because that one last night, I mean, that was like a full day. It was like 14 hours. 14 hours, can you imagine? I mean, really, the Democrats deserve a medal for being in the same room with Louis Gohmert and Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan for 14 hours. There has to be a medal for that. I mean, by the time they got done last night, did you see that? Were you watching? I don't know if you watched or not. It was so long. It was so ridiculous. The Republicans over and over and over and over screaming and yelling and banging and kvetching about process. Not one single Republican offered anything, any evidence, any proof, nothing to counteract the 17 witnesses that testified that there was a quid pro quo, that he was shaking down Ukraine, that he was doing it for his own personal benefit, and he wanted 2 investigations, one into a conspiracy theory to get Russia off the hook and put Ukraine on the hook for the hacking, and the other into the Bidens. They presented nothing. Nothing at all. It was the craziest thing. And then at the end of the whole thing, it was, I don't know, almost midnight. It was like 11 something, because I was already, washed and, in my flannels. I was already in bed when this thing finally ended. And, there was no winning anything with any of these clowns on the other side. So what had to happen was, either they had to vote at like midnight, which would have put the talking points into the Jim Jordans and the Louis Gohmerts and the Matt Gaetzes and the John Ratcliffe's hands that said, and the most important vote on whether or not the Judiciary Committee was going to vote out articles of impeachment and send it to the full House happened in the middle of the night. Why did they vote in the middle of the night and under the cover of darkness, right? That would have been the talking point this morning. Instead, last night, after 14 hours, and all, you know what that was about? I don't even know if anybody was clear with you about what yesterday was. Yesterday was the Republicans' chance at introducing amendments to the 2 articles. And they tried to amend one of the articles to turn this into an impeachment of Hunter Biden. No, I'm not kidding. And the evidence that we needed to investigate Hunter Biden and strike Donald J. Trump from the first article of impeachment was that Hunter Biden had gotten Well, that the vice president's son had snorted cocaine. That was the evidence that we needed to turn this into an impeachment of Hunter Biden. That was the argument for why we should allow Donald Trump to shred the Constitution. I mean, this was so sick, and they called Nadler Stalin. They said, oh, this is very Stalin-esque. Why don't we just have a dictator? I mean, the projection. This is such a classic example.
It has been a long 2 days of consideration of these articles, and it is now very late at night. I want the members on both sides of the aisle to think about what has happened over these last 2 days and to search their consciences before we cast our final votes. Therefore, the committee will now stand in recess until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., at which point I will move to divide the question so that each of us may have the opportunity to cast up or down votes on each of the articles of impeachment until history be our judge. The committee is in recess.
Mr. Chairman. There was no consulting from the minority ranking member on your schedule for tomorrow, in which you just blown up schedules for everyone. You chose not to consult the ranking member on a schedule issue of this magnitude.
So typical.
This is the kangaroo court that we're talking about.
It's more Stalin-esque than
Unbelievable.
Not even consult.
Just Stalin-esque. Let's have a dictator. It was good to hear about that.
10 a.m.
Unbelievable.
So this morning they would have said, oh, they voted under the cover of darkness in the middle of the night to send the articles out to the floor. I mean, God forbid the Republicans have to catch a different flight home today, right? What they had brunch plans? Oh, my God. They had to cast the most consequential vote of their shameful careers in the light of day. Oh, well, that's very Stalin-esque, isn't it? And then Doug Collins, this guy is just, I mean, the clowniest of the clowns. It was just so amazing. And all this whole 14 hours was their attempt at amending articles of impeachment. The Republicans got their chance to introduce their amendments, and they introduced 14 hours worth of debate on several amendments to turn this into the impeachment of Hunter Biden. That's what they did. I mean, this was unbelievable to me what went on there yesterday. And during the arguments, I mean, honestly, this was so amazing. You had to smack down Matt Gaetz because Matt Gaetz, Matt Gaetz had a DUI, okay? A DUI. He was drunk one night. He had a DUI. He lied to the police officer, et cetera, et cetera. There's a mugshot of him on the internet. Go Google it. But he decided that he was going to turn his amendment into the impeachment of Hunter Biden based on this.
Essentially, they're alleging a shakedown. But I think most Americans know.
Oh, wait. That's another great argument he had. Which one is... Oh, here, this one.
Why won't you help us move along the critical issues that are far more important than your partisan impeachment?
Gentleman's time has expired. Mr. Cicilline.
Let me begin by dispelling the claim that Mr. Gaetz just made. This has been one of the most productive Congresses in modern history.
Oh, that's not it
We
either.
passed nearly 400 pieces of legislation that respond to the urgent priorities of the American people, driving down health care costs, raising wages for the American worker, responding to gun violence, providing equal pay for equal work, responding to the climate crisis. 275 of those bills are fully bipartisan, and 80% of those bills are sitting on the Senate Majority Leader's desk awaiting action. So we will continue to deliver on the important priorities of the American people, but we were also elected to hold this president accountable. And we took an oath of office that said to protect and defend the Constitution, and that's what we're engaged in today.
Yeah, so, everything they said, including, Congress does nothing. He just, we have 275 bills, most of them bipartisan bills, sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk, and Mitch McConnell is blocking them like he blocked Merrick Garland and like he blocked every one of Obama's judicial nominees. And last night, freaky Mitch McConnell actually admitted on Hannity, holy crap, that the trial in the Senate is rigged. That he has consulted with the subject of the trial and coordinated the trial of the subject, coordinated with him to give him the trial that he wants.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
So right after Gerald Nadler asked the Republicans to search their consciences overnight before they cast one of the most shameful votes of their career, I think he meant search for your conscience, because apparently they don't have one. Doug Collins goes and runs to the TV cameras last night around midnight, runs to the TV cameras and starts talking really fast and really loud and as if this is, something.
And I've been around a lot of political campaigns. I've been around a lot of things that would make you think. But in the midst of impeachment, the chairman just ambushed the entire committee, did not have any consultation with the ranking members telling us we're going to have votes at 10 a.m. in the morning. I guess they didn't think enough today of spreading their very paper-thin impeachment process for over 12 to 14 hours was enough. So tonight, without consulting the ranking member, without consulting anyone, schedules of anybody be put out there. We're scheduling this at 10 a.m. in the morning. I don't know. The integrity level of this committee has been, the chairman's integrity is gone. His staff is gone. This was the most Bush League thing I have seen forever. And if the American people wondered about this impeachment anymore, they don't have to wonder anymore. They saw what happened right here tonight, because this committee is more concerned about getting it on TV in the morning than it was finishing its job tonight and letting the members go home. Words cannot describe how inappropriate this was. How I have been saying for the whole year how this committee is just simply rum-shotting the rules of this House, and this proves it tonight. They do not care about rules. They have one thing, their hatred of Donald Trump, and this showed it tonight because they want to shine into these cameras, get prettied up, and then vote and make it all happen. This was the most, I'm just beyond words at this point, but it shows their lack of integrity in this process and the lack of case that they have. For them to actually come out here to defend this is the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my God, Doug Collins talking about integrity. That is just so rich, I got to say. I mean, the President of the United States set a record for tweeting yesterday, 123 tweets, 123, including the trashing of a 16-year-old teenage girl named Greta Thunberg because she was named Times Person of the Year. And these Republicans are standing in front of a microphone defending a guy who just attacked a teenage girl and they think that they are somehow the most integrous people that ever came. I swear to God, this was such a clown show. This was such a circus. But wait until we get to the Senate. I mean, the Senate is going to be so rigged, and Mitch McConnell admitted it. I cannot believe what I saw, because when they start repeating themselves, I swear to God, the Republicans made this amendment of the articles of impeachment process, because that's what yesterday was. It was the chance for the Republicans to amend the articles of impeachment. They decided they would amend them to strike all references to like Donald J. Trump and insert instead Hunter Biden.
Hertz called the Prescott Police Department, and officers filed a narcotics offense report listing items seized in the car, including a plastic bag containing white powdery substance, a Secret Service business card, credit cards, and Hunter Biden's driver's license. That is what we would call evidence. And I don't want to make light of anybody's substance abuse issues. I know the president's working real hard to solve those throughout the country, but it's a little hard to believe that Burisma hired Hunter Biden to resolve their international disputes when he could not resolve his own dispute with Hertz rental car over leaving cocaine and a crack pipe in the car.
The pot calling the kettle black is not something that we should do. I don't know what members, if any, have had any problems with substance abuse, been busted in DUI. I don't know.
You don't know?
But if I did, I wouldn't raise it against anyone on this committee. I don't think it's proper. And I think we got to get back down to what is most important here. This is a question that stands out like a big, throbbing, sore toe.
That's Hank Johnson trying to be very diplomatic about the fact that Matt Gaetz was arrested for DUI as well, which isn't even the worst thing about Matt Gaetz, but that is true. And so he was trying to be extremely diplomatic, going, I don't know about this mugshot. I don't know about your DUI and your substance abuse. But if I did, I really wouldn't bring it up when we're talking about whether or not the president of the United States is guilty of extorting, because, here's their logic. Hunter Biden did coke. Therefore, Donald Trump is innocent. How do you get there? And the pot calling the kettle is really just the end of irony in this country. So that is what yesterday was about. It was about amending those articles, and this went on for 14 hours. They got their day, they got their amendments, they got to argue them and debate them and every other thing. They were all voted down along party lines, just like Bill Clinton, and they proceeded to vote this morning in a businesslike, orderly manner, and it took all of 10 minutes to call Congress into session. Oh, poor Matt Gaetz. He had to cancel his fundraiser this morning, or his brunch, or his flight to Florida, or buy a flex ticket. You don't get penalized that way for changing your flight plans. But this was so disgusting what happened yesterday. And it's almost as if they tried to make it for masochists only. Do you know what I mean? And like Doug Collins' crazy thing about procedure, over and over and over and over and over and over and over. It was like only the most crazy, masochistic, self-emulating people would have been able to make their way through this ridiculous thing that they called the amendment process. It was just, it was so awful what they did. They literally have no shame. And at the end of 14 hours of trying to amend, to make it about somebody else, to distract, to inflame, to whatever it is, Gerald Nadler said, it's very late at night. We're just going to adjourn now. All your amendments were introduced. They were all debated. They were debated fairly. Everybody got the same amount of time. They all failed. And so we're going to take the vote in a very businesslike manner tomorrow, because we know you people. You're going to try procedural crap, and we're going to be here till 3 a.m. And then in the next morning today, you'll wake up on Friday the 13th, and you'll say, they voted in the dark of night. They voted in the middle of the night to send the articles of impeachment to the floor. You know that. Because this is what they do. They have no interest in the institution for which they have no interest in oversight. They have no interest in the power of the purse. They have no interest in passing legislation. They have no interest in justice or administration of it. Everything to them is a political game, including the prescription drug plan. Listen, go look it up. It's H.R. 3. H.R. 3, prescription drug negotiations with Medicare, passed by the House during this whole mess. Go look it up, the USMC, the USMCA. NAFTA 2.0. Nancy Pelosi was able to get very strict environmental standards into it and very good labor rules into it to benefit American workers and builders of American automobiles. They don't want to take it up. They don't want to do jack.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
I need you to listen to this very carefully, because Mitch McConnell literally said out loud something that the American people have never heard anybody in a position of official authority or power, especially over the judicial branch, say out loud. This is really sick. This is really twisted. Everybody's hair should be on fire. Everybody says, when should we leave? When should listen, I'm telling you, you got to read the signs. You got to read the signs. You know what it reminds me of? People always used to ask me, why do bad things happen to good people? And I said, because they don't read the signs, because they don't see, it's like your friend gets shingles. I mean, this just happened to me. Your friend gets shingles, then mom, Loretta calls up and she goes, oh, God, I got this rash all over it. What is it? Oh, they said it was shingle. And I've been thinking I should get the shingle shot, right? I should get it because, my mother has it now, and it's disgusting, and it's itchy, and it burns, and it feels like your skin's being torn off your body. But you don't get the shingle shot. Then you get the shingle. You go, why did this happen to me? Because you didn't read the signs. That's why. So the same thing is true of the deterioration or the actual tearing up of our democracy, the tearing up, the shredding of the Constitution. Mitch McConnell said out loud what no one would ever say out loud, because we used to have a judicial branch that was somehow not considered to be a game that politicians played. Right? It wasn't a game. The justice system, the Lady Justice wears a blindfold. She's blind. She weighs the scales, right? But, for or against, and makes it, this ought to just, everybody's red alarm should be blinking red. All the lights are blinking red. Everybody's hair should be on fire. Women, look for red flags. This is a red freaking flag.
A lot of people would like to bring in Adam Schiff, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden. I think I'm more inclined to agree with Senator Graham on this. It's tempting, and I do believe that all of those things must be looked into. There are a lot of real questions here, but I don't know if that would be the appropriate forum once you would have the 51 votes at that point to end this, which, again, very weak case. I think it would be smart to do so. Where would your inclination be?
Yeah, again, I'm going to take my cues from the president's lawyers. But yes, if you know you have the votes, you've listened to the arguments on both sides, and believe the case is so slim.
He is saying he will allow for an opening statement from the lawyer, the prosecutor, the House manager, whoever that is. We don't know who that is yet. And then he will allow for the president's lawyer, and then he'll count votes. And if he has 51 votes, he will acquit the president without calling a single witness. And it's not just that one time he said it last night. I mean, the TV is usually behind me when I'm working, right? I like to face the wall so I don't have distractions, and I keep the TV on behind me so I can listen. And I had it on Fox last night, and he said that, and then he said it again.
Make a decision about the way forward. And everything I do during this, I'm coordinating with White House counsel. There will be no difference between the president's position and our position as to how to handle this to the extent that we can. We don't have the kind of ball control on this that a typical issue, for example, comes over to the House. If I don't like it, we don't take it up.
Oh, my God.
We have no choice but to take it up, but we'll be working through this process, hopefully in a fairly short period of time, in total coordination with the White House counsel's office and the people who are representing the president in the well of the Senate.
Oh, my God. So here you have a real kangaroo court. Here you have the real show trial. Here you have the real Stalin-esque show trial. Mitch McConnell has said out loud that the fix is in. The fix is in, and he is taking his cues from the accused. Now, Mitch McConnell is supposed to sit as a jury member. All the senators are supposed to sit as jury members in a trial of the president after an impeachment indictment of the president is voted out from the full House, right? And Mitch McConnell has already said that he is going to organize a trial that the accused wants. He said it 3 times. That was the second time, and then he said it again.
Well, exactly how we go forward, I'm going to coordinate with the president's lawyers. So there won't be any difference between us on how to do this. You raised the issue of what if you have witnesses. The president's counsel may or may not decide they want to have witnesses. The case is so darn weak coming over from the House. We all know how it's going to end. There's no chance the president's going to be removed from office.
Oh, my God, the fix is so freaking in, and he said it out loud in America. That's what I'm telling you, everybody. You got to read the signs as we go along. The destruction of our institutions it's amazing what has happened in 3 years. Just absolutely amazing. The FBI, the president has accused of being spies and of wiretapping Trump Tower, wiretapping his campaign, all that debunked by the IG report this week, okay? Mitch McConnell sits on TV and says the fix is in. The accused gets to set the rules for his own trial. I am working with the defense attorney so that the accused gets the defense that the accused wants, and the prosecutors are limited in what they can do. the prosecutors will be limited in whether or not they can call witnesses, because he said the words, if I don't want it, if I don't want it, it doesn't happen in the Senate. If I don't want it, it doesn't happen in the Senate. And then he went and he bragged about how he games the judicial system and has been doing it since Barack Obama, and took credit for all those vacancies that were open when Barack Obama left. It's very sick.
Let's talk about the issue has come up. Let's say somebody were to retire at the end of this year, leading into the summer. You have been very clear, if the president appointed somebody, you would follow through on that nomination.
Absolutely. We definitely would do that. And this paperback that we were just talking about,
a book,
the president's foreword is about judges. My afterword catches up what's happened during the Trump administration on judges, because my memoir came out 3 years ago before the president was elected. What we've done here, the president and I together, with this paperback,
a book
that you've shown on the screen, is to talk about how the Judge Project came about, how it went forward. If you were going to recall, Sean, the most important decision I've made in my entire political career was not to fill the Supreme Court vacancy when Justice Scalia passed away. That was the beginning, and now we've got an exclamation point here after 3 years that we thought the public would be interested in reading about, and that's why the president and I collaborated on this paperback.
A book.
So I was shocked that former President Obama left so many vacancies and didn't try to fill those positions.
I'll tell you why. I was in charge of of what we did the last 2 years of the Obama administration.
I will give you full credit for that. And by the way, take a bow. All right, that was a good line.
Why do they all sound like Batman villains? Rudy Giuliani laughs like that. Listen, this is so sick, because McConnell had always lied to the American people about Merrick Garland and said, you can't nominate a Supreme Court justice in your last year. And now he says, oh, yes, you can. Holy crap, man. It's all a game to them.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
What we've now seen is the foreman of the jury fixing the outcome of the trial with the defendant's lawyer. Not only does it violate the separation of powers obligation in the Constitution that the Senate engage in oversight of the executive branch, it'll also violate the special oath of office that every senator has to take going into an impeachment trial to try the case based on the facts. So all that we've seen today from the Republicans is an effort to disguise, to try to confuse the public, and at the end to make sure that they fix the outcome of the trial in favor of President Trump.
That's Joyce Vance, a federal prosecutor, obviously telling you what I just told you. And I am insisting that you remember this moment when Mitch McConnell went on Sean Hannity and said that a trial of the president is going to be rigged, it's going to be fixed, it's going to be in coordination with the accused. We are not going to uphold our oath that they have to take a separate oath when they enter into a trial situation after an impeachment article or articles are forwarded to them for trial. They take a separate oath, an oath that says that they will be the trier of fact and that they will base their decision based only on the facts. Mitch McConnell has told you it's all a game. It's a political game, that the fix is in, that if the second he has 51 votes to acquit the president, he will do it. That all that we will see is a Stalin-esque show trial where there'll be opening statements, and that will be the end of it. That will be the end. No witnesses, because he doesn't want it. And his members do what he wants done. And then he went on Sean Hannity to hawk a book about how he made the justice system into a joke. How he made the appeals courts, the district courts, and the Supreme Courts into a political joke. These are things that you never heard Americans in positions of power or official duties say out loud. And he is saying it out loud for the benefit of a cult. It is, I'm telling you right now, this was a moment where you need to read this as sign number one Sign number one is, if you didn't have others written down before or others in your mind, that this is a moment where the entire House of Representatives, Senate, the entire legislative body, and the judicial branch is being gamed, is being rigged, is being fixed by the admission of the majority leader. His own words. He confessed on TV. Donald Trump confessed on TV, too, when they asked, what did you want Zelensky to do? When he stood there on the White House lawn and he said, well, I wanted him to investigate Hunter Biden. He literally confessed. He confessed. And when Mick Mulvaney stood at the podium and he said, just get used to it. This is how the president works. This is what he does. He uses his office for his own personal benefit. Get used to it. These were signs as well that the presidency had been corrupted. So make a note of Friday the 13th. Maybe this is the second thing. Douglas in Denver.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
I just have a really quick question for you. We know that they're going to acquit Trump in this whole thing. So, I mean, I guess my question would be, what happens next? I mean, the only way we have now is to vote him out of office.
That's it. That's right. And the idea that we're going to have a free and fair election is getting slimmer and smaller. So
it sounds like it's become more of a joke than anything else.
It's difficult and it's chancy. The only saving grace we have is that all 50 states run their individual elections. So, it just depends on. It's time for everybody to look at who is their Secretary of State, who's going to be running the 2020 election in your state. Who is this person?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that things go well, but I'm also, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little bit scared too.
Oh, I don't blame you. I mean, there's a little bit of fear involved in this. There's no question about it. You have a man who could possibly be, well, look, what he is doing is a crime in progress. Okay, this is still going on. Rudy Giuliani is being investigated by New York, by the state of New York. Their prosecutors. They're considering bribery charges, money laundering charges. They're considering Foreign Corrupt Practices Act charges against him, Lev Parnas, Igor Fruman, and Rudy Giuliani. It all revolves around this NAFTA gas story that I think I'm the only one that ever told you about. Right? But yeah, I mean, this is very dicey what's going on. If the president should leave office, there's no question in my mind he's going to jail. He's already unindicted co-conspirator #1 in the Michael Cohen case. So he's got to cling to power. I mean, he is desperate. And
I mean,
and he's going to do whatever it takes, whatever he needs to do.
And that's what really scares me. I'm trying to be hopeful and trying to be positive, but it's just everything I hear is just making me more and more. I don't know if it's more and more nervous or more and more scared, but I just thought, I just wanted to get your take on what happens after this kangaroo court show trial that's going to happen.
Yeah, well, people ought to be outraged when they see it. That's number one. Number two, I think that, the answer for rigging elections is always an amazing turnout, right? You can cheat very easily in swingy states when it's close. You can, and we've seen it done. And so, listen, I'm in Palm Beach, right? I'm in Palm Beach County, 2000. It was just the anniversary of the end of the vote counting by order of the Supreme Court in a one time only decision, never to be used as precedent, to stop counting the votes and anoint George W. Bush. We got 2 freaking fake wars out of that. We got torture out of that. We got black site prisons out of that. We got a warrantless wiretapping scheme out of that. We got a FISA court out of that. We got a Department of Homeland Security he created. He created an entirely new Department of Intelligence, the DNI. I mean, what is wrong with people in this country? Why is there such a disconnect with the people that say they want smaller government, better services, and these Republicans that always spend money for the wealthy and create bigger government, time in, time out, and take us to war? I don't know.
I just don't get it, but I just wanted to get your take. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome. Mike in Colorado.
Hi, Randy. How you doing today?
Hey.
Hey, Mitch McConnell, and have you ever noticed that guy that kind of hangs on his right shoulder when he's at the at the microphone is Senator Barrasso of Wyoming. I call him Sarcophagus Macabre from the Pogo, the old Pogo comic strip. Well, they are both fraternity brothers, and their fraternity's mission statement ends with ethical leadership and exemplary character. Those two characters should have been out. Probably were out of the room when that was being discussed, because that's kind of a it's kind of a 101 class. So that's all. Basically, that's all I have to say.
Okay. Chris in New York.
Yeah, Randy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, first time, long time.
Oh.
No, but, I just wanted to say, I think Mitch McConnell, I think he knew that the fix was in with Russia from 2 years when 2016, when he held that seat open from Barack Obama. There's no way in hell he could have just, out of thin air said, we're going to let the next president come in. Because if another Democrat would have came in, they would have had two picks at the Supreme Court. So I think Mitch McConnell knew that the fix was in, because he got that Russian oligarch to give him that. I think it was they built a factory or something like that in his backyard.
Yeah.
So I think he had prior knowledge to everything that was going on and said, we're going to get a Republican president, and that's just basically guaranteed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold open all these seats, because I know a Republican is coming, and he's going to fill all the judgeships. That's all I have to say.
That's a pretty decent thought process you got going on there. I got to say.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that, because his wife.
I think that too, and his wife got a cabinet position. Secretary of Transportation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, how could you not think that? How could we not think that? How in the world, when the President of the United States stood on a stage before the counterintelligence investigation was open and said, Russia, if you're listening, right? How could Mitch McConnell not be, politically tuned in?
Tuned in?
Yeah. Tuned in. I mean, how could he not have known? Of course he knew. There's no question he knew. And you're right. If we would have gotten Hillary Clinton, who was our nominee, like it or not, Merrick Garland would have been sitting on the Supreme Court. And then we would have had a second pick, too. And all those 190 seats that are open, they would have been filled.
Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Rick Wilson, what is it about this committee that attracts, shall we say, a different breed of member of Congress often?
Well, I mean, look, I don't want to say that Doug Collins is a screeching histrionic drama queen, but because that would insult screeching histrionic drama queens. But this whole thing is a bad faith effort. It is performative in every way. Every one of these guys in this committee, they're out there waving their junk around to the maximum possible degree to distract from the fact that the president committed crimes, high and otherwise, in the course of trying to extort a foreign power to manipulate a United States election. They know that. They get that. But they are very disciplined. They are very structured. They know exactly what they're doing. They're playing for the Fox cameras. They're playing for their siloed set of media that the Trump fan base watches and listens to. And they're trying, as Joyce said, to basically frame this so that it goes to the Senate and Mitch McConnell can say, oh, my guys in the House said it was unfair, so nope, we're going to 51 votes, you're out, we're done. That is going to be an interesting legacy question. I think it really is an interesting point because Mitch McConnell, as a political survivor, is a very smart guy. And he may be buying his folks a problem because this isn't really over. We're going to learn more about Ukraine. We're going to learn that the defenses the Republicans mounted in the House were all BS. We're going to learn that there's a lot more here under the surface. As I like to describe it, with everything with Trump, it's a fecal iceberg. You only see the really stinky part on the top. There's a lot more underneath the water still.
Ew. Oh, Rick. Oh.
Oh, for God's sake.
It's a fecal iceberg. Oh, my God. That was vomit-inducing, I have to say. But so is this presidency, and so is the Republican Party, or the party of Trump. There is no Republican Party, as you now know. It's only the party of Trump. And it's gotten so culty and so bad and so completely narrow-casted that we actually have a Senate Majority Leader going on television and saying that the trial of the President of the United States, after he's been duly indicted by the House of Representatives for high crimes and misdemeanors, is rigged. It's fixed. It's in the bag. It's in the tank. The cult members that I control in the Senate will do whatever I tell them to do, even if what I'm telling them to do is to rig the trial with the defendant and give the defendant the trial the defendant wishes to have. Wow. That is just I've never seen the destruction of justice happen like this. I really never have. Bill Clinton's impeachment was sort of bogus. It had nothing to do with his official duties as president of the United States. It had everything to do with private sexual behavior. Back in 1998, people were so provincial that they thought only Bill Clinton cheated on his wife, right? Not Newt Gingrich, who was on wife number 3, as he was impeaching the president for sexual behaviors. And then he was replaced by, he was going to be replaced by a guy named Livingston. And Livingston was also cheating on his wife. And so he was knocked out of the ability to, and we ended up with Boner, who was a drunk. But honestly, and now advocates for marijuana, which is fine. But why wasn't he honest back then? So I can't explain to you how bizarre a world this is, how the complete and utter destruction of the Constitution, the shredding of the co-equal branches of government is happening in front of your face. It's happening right before your eyes. But now it's to the point where it's dystopian. Do you know what I'm saying? Where up is down and black is white, and everything that they're accusing the Democrats of doing, meaning, the Democrats have been hunting, Donald Trump, hunting him. No, Donald Trump fired his FBI director after the FBI director would not take an oath of loyalty to the President of the United States. And that seemed to everybody as obstruction of a counterintelligence investigation into Russia. And the question was, why would the president obstruct an investigation into Russia? Why would he do that? And then he had a meeting in the Oval Office with Sergei Lavrov and the other Sergei, right? And gave to them, Israeli intelligence, and also said, I'm so glad he's gone. He was such a shadow over me. He was a dirtbag. He was a liar. He was a leaker. He was bad news. And I got rid of him. I mean, it's just so unbelievable. While his attorney general at the time, Jeff Sessions, had to recuse himself from the investigation because he was part of the investigation. I mean, he was a subject of the investigation. So all of this has been, flares going up. That we have a president who is not loyal to the Constitution, that we have a president that's not loyal to the United States, that we have a president who will do any damn thing as long as he thinks that it's going to benefit him personally. I don't know what to tell you except that now's the time for everybody to register to vote for the next election, okay? Really, seriously, and make up your mind that is what you're going to do, and that it's going to be an overwhelming turnout of people that believe in the Constitution, people who believe in the separation of powers, people who don't believe in a unitary executive, who don't believe that Donald Trump has the Article 2 powers that mean he could do whatever he wants to do, which is what his lawyers literally had the nerve, the nads, to argue in court. I mean, it's just so sick. His lawyers actually said that if he shot somebody on Fifth Avenue, that there was absolutely nothing that could be done. And the judge specifically said, well, what about this Fifth Avenue example, where if he shot somebody in broad daylight on Fifth Avenue? And his lawyer, Mr. Consovoy, literally argued that he's protected. He has complete immunity from prosecution as long as he's president.
What's your view on the Fifth Avenue example? Local authorities couldn't investigate? They couldn't do anything about it?
I think once a president is removed from office, any local authority, this is not a permanent immunity.
Well, I'm talking about while in office.
No.
Nothing could be done. That's your position.
That is correct.
That is correct. Nothing could be done. So basically, the president of the United States believes he can kill you. Anybody. He can kill people. He can kill multiple people. He can kill anybody. He could do whatever he wants to do. And there's absolutely no remedy, including impeachment, that he can't defeat. Because he's got a cult going on. It's frightening. Deanna in Oregon.
Oh, I'm so glad that I got you. Oh, I'm excited. I've followed you since Air America.
Thank you. I hope the view is good from back there.
I don't have a lot to say. I'm not a public speaker or anything. This fellow who called and said he was so scared, and I just really, it bothers me when people say they're scared. They shouldn't be scared. They should be angry or pissed or something. But don't be scared. You don't do anything.
Well, look, making decisions when you're afraid or making decisions when you're angry, those two things are not a good time to make a decision, which is why I want people to do it now and make up their minds that they are going to vote now before everything is torn asunder.
Yeah.
Because then people will start flailing and wondering, and they'll start telling each other these terrible things like, my vote doesn't matter. Well, I don't want to see us get there. I don't want to see us voting when we're angry. I don't want to see us voting when we're anxious. I don't want to see us voting when we're fearful. I want to see us doing it now, when we're calm, but aware. Oriented, not disoriented. Register yourself right now. You can do it online. Everybody, go to Rock the Vote. I don't care where you do it. Just go and do it. Get yourself situated and make up your mind that this cannot stand. That America, well, with all its flaws, it's still a great country. Be a shame if anything happened to it.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
If we decide the president is above the law, then we will no longer live in a democracy. We will live in a dictatorship, trading the values of Madison for the values of Moscow. That's why this should matter to every single person watching tonight. Because if the president gets away with trying to cheat in the 2020 election, he will no longer be responsive to the will of the people.
That is just as clear, crystal clear as it gets. All right, so before we go back to the phone, because I know people want to get this off their chest, because this is a big red flag, what happened last night with Mitch McConnell. And the idea that the trial is rigged for the defendant is just so anti-American and so subversive and just so completely out of the idea of an American republic, an American democracy. I mean, it's just so off it's so off the map that it should make your hair light up on fire. I mean, it's one of those moments, right? But before I do that, I keep forgetting to do this, and I don't want to because today is the last day, the very last day of the Winter Pledge Drive that benefits the people at Free Speech TV. And there's about 16 people over there that work very, very hard every single day in order to distribute shows like ours on this platform of Free Speech TV. They make sure it gets to the Dish Network, to DirecTV, to Sling and Roku and Apple. There's a whole lot of work that goes on with making sure that streams from remote locations all, manage to get aired with. It's a lot of work, And they deserve props and credit, but they also need money to pay themselves. So go to freespeech.org/donate or just freespeech.org and click on the donate button, okay? Because since today is the last day of the pledge drive, there is still the $30,000 match that's in play. It was in play yesterday, and it's in play yet again today. Anything you donate will be matched up to $30,000 by donors who believe in this independent media platform, who literally pony up big bucks for the benefit of this independent media platform known as Free Speech TV. So visit freespeech.org or just dial the phone 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. 69. All right, let's see what's going on. Michael in California.
Hi, Randy.
Hi, Michael.
Yeah, I've been following you for years and love you and what you're doing. I think right now we have to accept the fact that they've been predicting if Trump gets taken out of office, out of the White House, there will be a civil war. We're in civil war right now, and it's being fought in the media, in Congress, and in the courts. And the Democrats had better get their strategy together, or it's over. That's what I'm seeing.
Well, I don't think we're at war. I don't. There's no violence, thank God. People are calm right now. People are thinking this
21st
through,
century.
and they are understanding, what cyber warfare looks like, and that it's coming from outside, not inside. There is a small group in this country who are cult-like fanatics of this man. Fandom has its limits, however, and so we have a lot of, discourse going on in this country that is negative, and we have a lot of people believing a lot of things that are untrue. But I don't think we're at war yet.
Well, but there's a different way. I mean, the war has changed. Different types of war, fighting a war, and it's obvious.
Well, argument and disagreement and tweeting at each other all night, which is what I've been doing. I mean, I look for groups of people that are all banded together, like 45 different people or 41 different. And when I see them post garbage, I, try and engage them. I don't call them names. They will be the first ones to tell you I'm very polite. I don't call them names. I don't insult their intelligence. I try and exchange information with them as best as I can. That's what's going on. For anybody that wants to take up that cause, you can do it too. And so if everything's going to happen on social media, then that's where we need to be. But that's not a war. That is just educating people. That is just orienting people to the world around them. That is debunking misinformation and disinformation. And that's going on right now.
Well, I appreciate your optimism. But to me, we've reached a point where they will do anything, and
but they haven't. And you have to be really fair about the people that are following Trump. They will cheer for really bad things. They will scream, lock her up. They will act in a subversive manner. They will be loyal to a man that couldn't care less about them. They are willing to be disrespected by him and talked down to by him. They are willing to be destroyed by him. Their communities destroyed by them. I mean, when Obama, was president, we had 15,000 coal jobs in Harlan, Kentucky, and now we have 600. So they're willing to do it. And the farmers are willing to take, welfare over, having their markets left alone. So there's a lot of compromise going on their side, but they're not violent. And so anybody that's...
Well, no.
What I'm saying to you is don't use the word war lightly, because anybody that's been trained to go to war or has gone to war will tell you that you don't throw that word around.
Well, yeah.
Now his supporters do. They do. They threaten war all the time.
How far will the Supreme Court go? And in which direction?
We don't know yet.
I know. And it's very scary.
Well, it's an open question. I mean, we don't know. Will they come down on the side of the Constitution after all, or will they come down on the side of a demagogue, of a unitary executive who can do whatever he wants? And will they give him permission to kill people? Will they?
Randy, Happy Friday.
Thank you. But don't, listen, here's what he's talking about, okay? I saw it too.
He's not going to be removed. He's not going to be removed. He's not going to be removed.
You feel confident in that?
My 357 Magnum is comfortable with that. End of story.
And they remove him in the Senate. I think it'll cause physical violence in this country that we haven't seen since the first Civil War. I think it'll become the second Civil War.
I would think that there would be a strong movement. It would be very negative. Possible violence. Not that I'm condoning violence. There'll be a lot of mad Americans. Possibly 70, 80 million Americans on the loose, not very happy. What we're seeing is a divided country. Both sides are dug in. No one's budging. We have families tore apart. It's, including my family. My daughters are liberal. I'm conservative. Now that this whole thing has been going on, we just had a problem at Thanksgiving. Very unfortunate. I wish it never would have happened. This whole mess we're in.
So you do have people threatening violence on the other side. You do have people declaring that this will be the second Civil War. You do have people saying that their 357 Magnum will back them up in their presidential preferences. Let's not be that. Let's not declare war or say we're in a war. We're not in a war. We're in a war of ideas. I mean, you could say that. We're in a war for the soul of our country. We're defending the Constitution with words and deeds. That's what impeachment is. It's a punishment. It's an indictment of the president. But let them threaten violence, not us.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
What exactly did you hope Zelensky would do about the Bidens after your phone call? Exactly.
Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens. It's a very simple answer. They should investigate the Bidens, because how does a company that's newly formed, and all these companies, if you look at, and by the way, likewise, China should start an investigation into the Bidens, because what happened in China is just about as bad as what happened with Ukraine. So I would say that President Zelensky, if it were me, I would recommend that they start an investigation into the Bidens, because nobody has any doubt that they weren't crooked. That was a crooked deal, 100%.
So what you just heard is a public admission of the allegations at the heart of the House's impeachment inquiry and at the heart of the whistleblower's complaint, that the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, is using the power of his office to solicit foreign interference in the 2020 election, while doing it relying on a debunked conspiracy theory or two. By the way, this is not hearsay. This is not a leak. This is not a whistleblower complaint. It's not a memorandum of a phone conversation. You heard the president himself do it on the White House lawn. This moment should arguably be a national emergency. The founding fathers would have considered it a national emergency if the president publicly lobbied multiple foreign governments to interfere in the next election. And yet there has been virtually no condemnation from the president's party at all on this remark, which is remarkable considering the precedent it would set and the lasting damage it would do to our democracy.
I do want always.
It's tough to say lightly, but this is the moment that we're at.
It is where we're at. I mean, it's a fantastical moment that we're at. It's a horrible moment that we're at, but it's not the worst moment America has ever been at. Okay, we've gone through Jim Crow, we've gone through the Civil War, we've gone through a Revolutionary War, we've gone through protests on Vietnam, we've gone through protests on Iraq. I've slept in Lafayette Square to try and stop wars from, launching. I have approached, senators and House members to get them to call the previous Republican president a liar. They won't do it. They wouldn't do it then. 17 years later, we're still, finding papers that say, oh, all this was a lie and the money went missing and it was all, in chaos we could steal. And I've been proven right. And I'm telling you, this is one of those moments that you have to be on the side of what is right, because now we have a president that's not only, stealing, and a president that's lying, and a president that's cheating, and a president that's enriching himself, as president of the United States in every way, shape, and form. You have a president now that is, look, I had a lot of questions about how George Bush in 2000 became President W. Okay, it was bizarre. It wasn't right. The Supreme Court, weighed in a states' rights issue about how Florida chooses its electors. They demanded and ordered that Florida stop counting the votes. That was a pivotal moment in constitutional America. People didn't see it that way. They didn't want it. They wanted it over 36 days. Everybody was exhausted. But that changed the course of history. And this will too. This is what comes out of all the bad things that the Republicans have been advocating for 18 years. 18 years. They've been advocating for a unitary executive. They've been advocating for presidential powers, the likes of which this country was never meant to see. They've been saying the president can warrantlessly wiretap people. They've been saying we should have secret courts in this country. They've been saying that lies about war aren't impeachable. They've been saying torture isn't impeachable. And we've allowed the deterioration of treaties that we're signatories to, of an order in the world with alliances that keep us safe at night, and now we have a president that couldn't care less about the administration of justice when it comes to himself. Even Bill, here's a little factoid for you. The idea that President Trump has categorically denied papers and documents and phone call records and witnesses to the impeachment inquiry, and that this is unprecedented, that no president has ever done it. And people say, well, what about Eric Holder? Yeah, Eric Holder went to President Obama on Fast and Furious and asked Obama to exert executive privilege over some of the information with regard to Fast and Furious. Whether or not that irritates you or doesn't irritate you, at least the president of the United States exerted executive privilege. This president has never claimed executive privilege. He has instead argued for blanket immunity from any prosecution. That's the little clip I keep playing you of his lawyer, Mr. Consovoy, arguing in a federal court that the president is above the law and he could kill whoever he wants and nothing could be done. But here's a little factoid about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton not only cooperated and allowed, documents and participated in a grand jury testimony and in depositions with regard to his private affair with Monica Lewinsky, but the president of the United States, Bill Clinton, literally provided his DNA. That's huge. He literally went and provided his DNA so it could be tested against a blue dress. So you've never seen anybody categorically, deny the authority of Congress like this president denies the authority of Congress. And you've never seen a Congress accept that they are useless. The way that Doug Collins accepts that he's useless. The way that Matt Gaetz is willing to give up his power. This I don't even want to call them Republicans. This party of Trump is willing to enable this president, just like the Chancellor of Germany in 1933, where their Congress over there in Germany in 1933 decided that they would let the Chancellor of Germany have unfettered power and let him rule by decree. And that is what this particular party of Trump is doing for him. I've never seen anything like it, and I've seen some stuff. I've seen war started based on bull. I've seen a guy who I respected, Colin Powell, a general I respected. I read his book. I'm not that partisan, believe it or not. I'm on the side of what's decent. I have a conscience. I follow it. And I saw that man sit in front of the United Nations and hold up a thing of baby powder and say it was anthrax and there were chemical belts around Baghdad. And man, it stunned me. And when Bill Clinton kept insisting that he did not have an affair, I supported him until the evidence showed me that he did. And how disappointed I was when that was the case. But I also knew it had nothing to do with the execution of his official duties as President of the United States. So you can call me a lot of things, but you can't say that I'm blind or unfair or a cult member or that I go along to get along with a party. That's not me. It never has been me, and I've lost my job because I don't play party politics the way that the party wishes I would.
It's the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right, last segment for the Winter Pledge Drive for the benefit of Free Speech TV. You know the drill. They need money. It is a not-for-profit. It's year-end. It's a good time to give. And whatever you do is going to be matched today up to $30,000. So please do go to freespeech.org and donate there or dial 877-378-8669. Independent media, we thank you for supporting it in any way that you can. But 10 becomes 20, 30 becomes 60, 100 becomes 200, 1,000 is 2,000. So please, Free Speech TV, no TV. Sorry, I always do that. freespeech.org or 877-378-8669. Thank you. Mark in New York.
Hi, Randy. How are you?
I'm good.
Does the House have to pass the impeachment resolution on?
No.
With the Senate, knowing what's going to happen?
No.
Okay, now if they hold on to it
yes.
through the election and Trump wins again, can they pass the same resolution forward?
Yes.
Interesting. That's fascinating. I also have another question regarding the Bull, and I do mean Bull Durham investigation. How was it that Mr. Barr was able to talk about that and not be discussing or about what allegedly is being investigated there that he didn't talk about in his recent interviews?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a very good one. That's a smart one. How is he talking?
Ongoing investigation, right?
Bingo. Yes. Absolutely, yes. So the answers to your very thoughtful questions are, and they're great questions, by the way. The House does not have to send the articles of impeachment over to the Senate on any timetable. They could pass them and hold them and not pass them on to the Senate and hang on to them until the next election. And then, yes, we would have a new House and they'd have to revote. But, and that's the rub, right, is that if they hold on to them and we lose that.
So they can't pass, it's a new House, so they can't pass this House's resolution forward.
Right. So that's the rub. That's the rub.
Okay.
But they don't have to give it to the Senate, knowing that the Senate has announced that they're...
So they can just leave this hammer over him.
Yeah, that they're fixing the trial, that they're coordinating with the president to give him the trial he wants.
The Republicans have been calling this a sham all along.
But that's such
We
projection.
know that's going to be a sham.
And the Attorney General speaking about an ongoing investigation is a no-no. It's a big, giant no-no. So it's very interesting what you just brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
People from Brooklyn think we're good thinkers. Right?
I know. I don't know what it is in the water there, but yeah, there's something about Brooklynites. I know. Well, thank you.
Love you, honey.
I love you too.
Have a great
The
weekend.
Attorney General of the United States is a Fox News bot. And it's an outrage. I mean, just the first quote you started with. It's like, I think it's troubling when they wire someone and they wire people up to go in a campaign. They didn't wire anyone up. It's a complete invention. I mean, the Justice, I used to work in the Justice Department about 17 levels down from where Jim Baker was. But, I mean, it's just outrageous. It's not sad. This is what's going I mean, the fact that the Attorney General of the United States keeps demanding investigation after investigation until he gets the results that he wants, that's something that happens in the Soviet Union, not in the United States.
Oh!
So you have that particular aspect of it, that it's outrageous that that the Attorney General of the United States is lying, literally lying, after all these conspiracy theories were debunked by the IG's report. But what the caller just brought up is really a good one. How in the world is the Attorney General of the United States talking about an ongoing investigation that's being conducted by his hand-picked U.S. attorney? See, that's another, level of lawlessness. So that was a good one. Rollin in California.
Good afternoon, Randy. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Fighting the big C. Former Sentinel, ex-military like you. So nervous. Anyway, I just think it's fascinating. It's hit me like a brick watching this. I've been watching every bit of it. The hard part is to watch the Republicans. It's amazing.
It is.
And then it hit me. How much money is flowing in to the Republican, I call them Republican now, the Republican Party all the way through, and how are they going to come out and just admit, money's speech, so we've been taking money from Russia for a while. What's the big deal? Get over it.
Yeah,
well, like another step.
Well, Rudy's taking money from Russia. There's no question about it. Right. I mean, here was the question we had for a really long time. Who is paying Rudy? Right.
It's the oligarchs.
And Rudy, the president says, is working for him for free, which means that Rudy cashed a check for $500,000 that was given to him by Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman, and they got a $1 million transfer from Russia. So.
Dump change.
Yeah, I mean, they got $1 million of Russian money transferred to their accounts, and then they paid Rudy $500,000. So the president's personal lawyer is being paid by Russia? Really?
Yes. How much money is flowing into? How much money did he borrow before he became president? And how much money is flowing into the coffers of the Republican committee in their party?
Well, all we know is that all of a sudden the NRA had $30 million that they never had before, and they're giving it to all the Trump the Trump supporting members of Congress, and Maria Butina is convicted, and Alexander Torshin is on the run, and you got Oleg Deripaska suing Paul Manafort. I mean, all roads do lead to Putin here. It's sad. It's really sad that this almost broke country that could never survive, our sanctions, or if we were like serious about finally getting rid of the old Soviet Union's idea of putting, the Soviet Union back together again, then helping Ukraine was like the best thing we could have done. But here you had Manafort taking out from the Republican platform lethal weapons. It's really sick, and then Trump goes out and hires a lobbyist from one was from a Boeing executive, but Shanahan had to withdraw his nomination for DOD to be Secretary of Defense, and now we got the Raytheon executive, and it's just so interesting that the Javelin missile system is Raytheon. That's number one, and number two, the terms of the sale require that those Javelin missiles be stored away in Western Ukraine when all the fighting is going on in Eastern Ukraine. And then they sit there and they tell you, but he provided lethal weapon. Not really. Not really. And all the money hasn't gone out the door yet. I mean, it's just so... But that, the thing that America and Americans have to be more concerned about, although it is concerning that you have a president that is willing to try and grow the Soviet Union back. Because Russia... The country that it is now, without Ukraine, is like a 15th, 18th rate country. It's not part of the G8 because it's not one of the 8th largest economies in the world. It's like an also ran, half-broke country. With Ukraine, the largest country in Europe, they're starting to look like the Soviet Union again. Without Ukraine, they're a broke butt country. I want to curse really bad, but I can't. All right, Jimmy in New Mexico.
Hi, Randy. Nice to talk to you. I've been watching you since your show started after Tom Hartman, and really appreciate your high energy atmosphere that you have on your show. You're a little bit more sparked up than Tom can be sometimes. But I love Tom. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, Randy.
Tom is a friend. I think
Tom is my best. I'm a Tom Hartman University graduate. So
if it wasn't,
Randy, I love you.
I just want to say this real quick. If it wasn't for Tom, I would not be on Free Speech TV. Just so you know.
I don't doubt that. As a matter of fact, I remember you talking when you first started, and even before you started, that if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't be here.
Right. That's true.
So, Randy, I am a progressive Democrat out here in the state of New Mexico. Grew up in the city of Chicago. So I'm used to dirty politics. We need to all quit coming up with all these ethos theories and what they're pulling on us. All we need to do, bottom line, is make sure any Democrat from all walk of life, no matter if you're progressive, conservative, liberal, or frickin' whatever, you got to get out there and vote.
That's right.
The only way, Randy, we're going to get this really serious democracy.
Yes. No, he's right. You're absolutely right. It's very hard to steal an election when there's an overwhelming turnout for one side, okay? For decency, let's call it. It's very easy to cheat when it's razor thin, like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, okay? Make up your mind that you're an American first. You're not a hyphenated American. You're not a this or that. You just believe in this country.